everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
Black people didn't always vote for the Democratic candidate in every presidential election. So when did the switch happen? And why? We know that Abraham Lincoln and the Republicans were responsible for ending most forms of slavery in the U.S. So it's no surprise that black people that could vote voted for Republicans in the late 1800s. However, as time went on, Republicans moved further and further away from helping black people, and when the Great Depression hit, Republicans were in power and black people were hit even harder than the rest of the nation. Fast forward a few years, and the nation ends up with a Democratic president named Franklin Roosevelt, also known as FDR. Roosevelt's new programs to help the nation deal with the Great Depression were not especially designed to help black people, but black people were being helped by these programs. And for many of these black people, this was the first time that they were receiving tangible assistance.
So now, but also what they're saying is those programs, not only did they help black people, but they also hurt black people because those programs kept the black father out the home. So when you hear people say Charlie Kirk, you hear Charlie Kirk say, oh, well, the problem is the black father has not been in the home, but those are by Democrat policies. So just to say, and who might I add was that it wasn't a black man. It sure wasn't a black man talking about keep the black man out the home.
From the federal government in decades. So when Roosevelt went up for re-election in 1936, a majority of black people voted for the Democrat. And the majority of black folks have been voting that way ever since. Black people didn't always...
Those 8 Democrats caving to Trump and to MAGA tells us one really important thing, that we blacks can't depend on the Democrats. We can't let them lead our struggle. It's time for us, black voters, to take control of the Democratic Party. Because without us, the Democratic Party is weak, but with us leading the way, it can be strong enough to help us close the disparities and the inequities that our community continues to face. But that requires fighters and warriors, not politicians who fold every time Trump raises his voice. You see, we and our ancestors, we have fought men like Trump for 4 centuries. We've stood against them through slavery, Jim Crow, systemic racism, sharecropping, segregation, convict leasing, and so much more. So that fight is in our DNA. But many white liberals, they don't have that history. They've never struggled a day in their lives. They don't carry the legacy of resistance that we do. So why would we let them who've never lived out that kind of struggle control our struggle? They can help us. We need their help, but they cannot lead us. So that's why I created something called impact voting. Impact voting is about using our collective power to take charge of the Democratic Party. It's not about this foolishness of voting the couch and sitting out elections and all of that craziness. That's what has us in the mess we're in today. No, it's about voting impactfully, thoughtfully, and voting overwhelmingly. And it's also about voting for the right people we choose from our community. Because when we vote overwhelmingly, thoughtfully, impactfully for the right hand-picked people, we decide who gets elected. We decide which policies get passed. And we can stop anti-black policies like Project 2025. So that's how we take real power. That's how we take control. So if you want to understand exactly how impact voting works and how we build that power, watch my latest YouTube video on the Defiant Lawyers. Because the next election, folks, it's not about saving the Democratic Party. It's not about the Democratic Party saving us. It's about us controlling the Democratic Party with impact voting. And as always,
You know one thing, he makes a great point. we need to take control of the Democratic Party. But the only problem with that, Nick, we don't control America. Like, man, we ain't everywhere. We not in Vermont. We not in Montana. We not in these spaces that vote Democrat, but it's not represented with black people. Black people don't have representation everywhere. That's why we need to be independents, so we can be independent from. Now, I'm not saying this. Don't let me change your damn political stance. But we need to be independent from Democrats, independent from Republicans, but because we also need to vote our interests in our areas. And that's why we never have a say so when we vote Democrat, because we don't know what the fuck going on in Idaho, Utah, uh, Oregon. Even though there's black people everywhere, we don't know what's going on with that. So we do need to have an independent vote. I'm not saying we just disassociate ourselves from Republicans or Democrats, but if we're gonna do something, because every time something come up, or this person has the black voters, this person had, they be like, when they say Trump had the black voters, I'm like, nigga, in what state? This is Oklahoma. He got the black voters in Oklahoma. Who is you Negroes? They vote in their interest. But you know what? The most of Oklahomans live in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. So you got 5 congressional colleges or whatever, electoral colleges in Oklahoma. And the two most valuable ones has more people than everybody in the state. The other 3 get the same electoral votes, but have like 90% less people in each of those areas. So how are they getting all the black votes in Oklahoma? It's crazy. You know why? Because black people live in those conservative areas. It is what it is, man. Black people stay woke if we're going to give our vote.
I learned today that they really do believe that black people are a monolith. Let me tell you how I learned it. So many people approached me today. They want to talk about the election. So I was out around the courthouse talking to some fellow lawyers. Now that's important because there are other lawyers who are comfortable talking to me because we've had a legal relationship for the better part of 20 years. And so one has recently moved to Virginia, and she is from the Pennsylvania area, and she was just happened to be at the courthouse, and she's like, hey, let's grab lunch. What we did anyway. That's just an aside. So I need you to know that she's from Pennsylvania, that Pennsylvania part that I talked to you about, and she has moved to Virginia. And so she's talking to me, and she says, I just don't understand how Winsome lost. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, I really thought that you guys would vote her in. What? Yeah, she would have been the first black woman governor in the United States. And yeah, and there's such a large black population. And then we find out that like 90% of black people like voted for Spanberger. I'm so confused. And we've been talking about it. I said, well, you've been talking about it to everybody but us. And so she said, what do you mean? I was like, have you seen that woman? And she's like, yeah. I said, everything about that woman said that we weren't going to vote for her. And she was like, what are you talking about? I said, that woman always looked like me on the day that I need to go get my hair done. Not on the day that I'm showing up for the cameras and to be out here public speaking. I said, but on top of that, I said, that she's of Jamaican descent. She said, yeah. I mean, that's great. She's like, she's an immigrant. I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. I said, she's of Jamaican descent. and has told you that she's basically been the beneficiary of all of the DEI, all of the affirmative action, all of the programs, all of the social network that has been created on the backs of, African American descendant slaves. She's like, I've never heard that term before. And I'm like, yeah, African American descendant slaves. I was like, that's a very specific group. I said, and we have a very specific relationship to the United States because of it. She's like, well, yeah, but what's that got to do with it? I said, well, I was like, many times immigrants, and especially ones who look like me, they get the benefit of the things that we fought for, but they don't understand the struggles of where we've been. So we get a lot of that, in the media. And she's like, I said, so example is like Cynthia Erivo. And she's like, I don't. I said, haven't you ever seen all the backlash we get about the things that she says? And she doesn't understand it. And she's like, yeah, well, I said, hey, awesomely lovely. That's another one that, recently been issued. But I just don't understand. I said, because it's not for you to understand. What I need y'all to do is stay out of our business like we stay out of yours. See, y'all don't study us. We study you. You have like kind of no idea how we relate to one another and how we deal with one another and how we understand one another. What you see is that everybody got this color skin, so we all the same. You see us as a monolith. And I said, we are not. I said, in actuality, I said, amongst my folks, we know they're all skin folk, ain't kinfolk. She's like, yeah. I said, do you see us out here supporting Clarence Thomas? I said, do you see us out here supporting Rick Scott? Do you see us out here supporting Ben Carson? Did you see us out here supporting Candace Owens? I said, win some was all of them rolled up into one. So she wins some, but she lost some. And more importantly, she lost the right thing. So I just couldn't believe how much I really was face to face with somebody who's known me for 20 years and has no concept of who I am, because she thinks we're all a monolith.
Man, she not lying. She not lying, because guess what? When people come over here from different countries, black people in general, speaking out, shout out to my people who born in different countries, but you niggas too. They be like, man, my mom came over here. She didn't have no job. She didn't have her papers. She was working for this person. She worked 3 jobs. My dad did this and this and this. And then, they did all this to put us in a good school. And I love my Jamaican heritage and all this stuff. But then they also be like, I love being black. And when it's convenient, they love being black, which I get it, because you black. But like, are you a black American, or are you like Jamaican, or are you Caribbean, or what? Because that's what you are. That's what you are proud of. You proud that your family came here from nothing and made it in America, and then you say, well, y'all been here for y'all whole lives, and y'all ain't make it, man. Because goddamn it, we ain't never had a dirt floor, nigga. So if I had a dirt floor, I would bust my ass too. But I'm just trying to live my damn life and get this social media career popping off. I ain't got to worry about having a marble floor versus having a dirt floor. That's a different kind of struggle. You hear me? That's a different kind. They try to wheel us into y'all struggle. We ain't struggle. My mama ain't had 2-3 jobs. You know what I'm saying? We ain't come over here on a little boat and with a rap. You know what I'm saying? Just a bunch of our family members, and we had to curl up in one house and do. I ain't live that struggle, so we don't have the same struggles, and our family didn't fight the same way to make it happen, and then we didn't shit on everybody else after we came up. It is what it is. Black people, white people, American people. We just tapped into why black Americans are going Democrat. And it could go anyway. If you choose to be a Democrat, as long as you're doing it for the reasons that you want to do it for, I don't give a shit, honestly. if we're gonna be Americans together, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to talk to everybody. We're gonna have to be in our own bubble. But what I will say is, what up, Joker TV? T6 been holding it down for you. We're gonna have to reprimand her for that one. Reprimand her. But we gotta be more diligent on who we support, because as black people we can't just support anything, and we can't just go for anything. We've been going for whatever it is all the time. Are we taking care of our own? Are we letting somebody else take care of us? And are we going to vote our interests? Are we going to lobby to the right people? Can we get a few billionaires to lobby in the name of black men and women that are born in America, descendants of slavery, descendants of slaves? Can we get those people? Because we've been held back for so long, and now we over here confused as why the whites, Democrats, and the white Republicans are fighting for us. Why y'all fighting for us? But every chance y'all get, y'all tear us down. Food stamp queen. Every AI video with a woman who EBT card get declined. Guess what? Guess what race she is?
Everyday people.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as fast as 1 week.